All right. May I ask that the Secretariat forward this exchange between the three of us to the Committee on Peace and Unification during the hearings of the BBL? I think this would greatly help us there. All right. Let me now, just for clarification also, ask the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces about your table of organization na prinisinta nyo sa amin kanina rito. On page 4, nandun yung TO ninyo. Sa chain of command. The President, Commander-in-Chief, CIC. And then directly under is the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. Tapos, naka-ear yung SND, the Secretary of National Defense. Is this the same TO sa DILG and PNP?
Sir, by this description is the chain of command in the armed forces, as I understand it. No? The DILG and the PNP, being a civilian organization, follows the rules of the civilian side of government, where in this instance, both Secretary Gasmin for the AFP and I for the DILG/PNP are the alter egos of the President, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Precisely, Madam President, they represent the President eh. So bakit sila naka-ear sa ano? They are not directly in the office of the President itself. But ganun ang sitwasyon. Again, it's a question that I'm sure will aid us in our legislation because hindi po ba? Naka-ear lang kayo eh. Kung tama itong prinisinta sa atin, ano? And then also on page 12, General Katapang, levels of planning coordination. President, diretso na agad, DHQ, strategic, NHQ, PNP. Nothing here is SND or SILG. Ganito po ba talaga?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, you see the President occupies two hats. He is the President as a civilian authority and also is the Commander-in-Chief of all the armed forces. In this particular case, this is a military chain of command. And therefore, the Secretary of National Defense is not a military man. He is an alter ego of the President. He advises and he can give orders to us simply because he was directed by the President. On the next chart, there's levels of planning coordination. You'll see that, again, by virtue of Section 18, Article 7, Executive Department of the Constitution, the President is the Commander-in-Chief of all the armed forces or armed services. Meaning to say it includes the PNP. Although the PNP have a different setup wherein the NAPOLCOM chair is also the SILG. But the same manner, we believe that the PNP is organized. Its line of command is almost just like the armed forces of the Philippines, Your Honor.
Madam Chair, I don't mind. Senator Villar
Go ahead,
wants to follow up.
Senator Villar.
I just want to know, I'm not familiar with the military. I'm a civilian all the way. But nagtataka lang po ako, ba't pa tayo kumuha ng Secretary of National Defense kung didiretso ka sa Presidente? Ano ang role ng Secretary of National Defense sa atin? Ibig sabihin, parang tinitingnan ko dito sa level of chain of command mo, parang walang role ang Secretary of National Defense. Wala siyang alam, wala siyang say, ganon. So, parang hindi ko makita na walang role ang Secretary of National Defense. Kaya, will you please explain to us ano ba yung role ng Secretary of National Defense between you and the President?
Madam Chair, I think the Secretary is also equally aware of this role. But what I know is the Secretary of National Defense is the alter ego of the President. And therefore, if there are things that he needs to take up with the armed forces, he can delegate these things to the Secretary of National Defense.
May role lang ang Secretary of National Defense pag dinelegatean siya ng President. Ganun ba?
In the established under the Constitution, under the Administrative Code of 1987, the Secretary of National Defense has a specific function in order to expedite and ensure that the armed forces of the Philippines does perform its mission.
Kasi ang impression namin, siya ang head ng defense. So, parang hindi namin ma-imagine na everything will come from the President, tapos wala siyang alam unless delegated by the President to do this. Ang impression ko is he's in charge of the whole defense of the Philippines. So, nagugulat ako na parang ang nag-uusap, ikaw at Presidente, parang wala siyang role. Kaya siguro tama ang sabi ni Senator Sotto and that we should study this and find out if this is really the meaning of the chain of command, because we're not aware that this is like this. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have two more questions, but I was given a sign that my time has ended. I don't know if I consumed 5 minutes already, but nevertheless, let me just make a manifestation, Madam Chair, and I will put forth my other questions in the next round. Let me just make this statement, because again, this is another piece of legislation that we should look into. And now, let me, well, as I said, just a manifestation. Madam Chair, after 9/11, the United States created the Department of Homeland Security as a response. After Mamasapano, I am reminded of a long-time proposal of two old friends of mine. I'll just call them by their nicknames, no? Danding and Ramon. I'm reminded by their proposal because after hearing the issues at hand, I'm now more convinced that we need a unified armed forces and police command under the Department of Defense and Security. Yung DILG, pwedeng Department of Local Government. We should look into this because the present command structure is divided and the result is Mamasapano. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that manifestation. In fact, the NICA, which is supposed to be a repository of intelligence, has not really been figuring prominently in the coordination in this particular incident. But may I ask for your indulgence, Senator Honasan, just to make a point clear, because this is time and again coming back to us with the question of foreign involvement. Because Senator Sotto made this clear. Yusek Garcia, since you're present here today,
Madam,
I would just like to know if the DFA has actually been apprised of the situation on the ground with regards to alleged or possible foreign involvement. Did they actually brief you on this? Can you confirm that or not?
thank you, Madam Chair. We have had no such information provided to us by the security forces. We would have to get the DFA is not involved in operations. However, we have also taken the initiative. The Secretary has spoken directly with the U.S. Ambassador, and we have confirmed that there was no U.S. involvement in the operation.
So that's the confirmation from the U.S. Embassy. There's no U.S. involvement.
There is no U.S. involvement in the operation. The operation was, as far as we can determine, 100% Filipino planned and implemented.
But you will do your own initiative and also interview those that were actually on the ground. Am I correct, sir?
Madam, we're foreign affairs, so we interface with foreign governments. The information on the ground has to come to us from the relevant domestic agencies.
Okay. In case, if, for example, there indeed was, and you were just not aware of this, we have mechanisms, as mentioned, anti-terrorist groups, in cooperation with other countries to prevent this from happening, not only in their country, but in our country as well. Isn't there a mechanism wherein other anti-terrorist groups actually train our police officers also?
Yes, ma'am. This includes the U.S. and Australia and others.
So this does not intrude on, or this does not put in jeopardy our sovereignty as far as you know?
Ma'am, these are trainings, and they do not impinge on our sovereignty at all.
How about if they are providing intelligence and they actually take an active role in providing us that intelligence, like, for example, guiding our military or our police officers in the process?
Madam, the sharing of intelligence is an approved activity under the MDB SEB.
Okay, that's for the record. Now we have Senator Honasan.
Madam Chair, with the indulgence of Senator Greg
Okay.
Honasan, just pursuant to the point of Senator Sotto, can we also make a study of the Human Security Act? Because we have an Anti-Terrorism Council under the Anti-Security Act, and that was also a response to increased terrorist attacks post 9/11 world. So if we could also make that part of the study, Madam Chair.
Noted, Senator
Madam
Angara.
Chair.
Secretariat, please take note.
Madam Chair, good afternoon. Just with the permission of Senator Honasan, just a manifestation on that point. Sir, isn't it true that not only is it legal and not only is it regular for our allies, not just the US, to share intel, dapat magalit pa tayo pag hindi sila nag-share ng intel. Because itong intel na to, especially kay Marwan, is for our safety. If he was here and he was plotting or training and they didn't tell us, we would be in trouble or putting our people in jeopardy. That's why you have sharing of intel. So as far as the US-Philippines cooperation and sharing of intel, not only is it legal, dapat talagang meron sharing. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir, Mr. Senator, that's absolutely accurate. Anything that expands our capacity to know what's going on and improves our horizon in terms of detecting security threats is in the national interest, and our cooperation with other countries for this purpose is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Honasan, Madam Chair.
Thank you for making that manifestation, Senator Cayetano. Now we will go with Senator Honasan. Thank you, sir, for your patience.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, actually ho, yung sitwasyon ngayon is a derivative of the issues that Senator Villar, the Chair, Senator Angara, and Senator Cayetano have raised, which is precisely the policy issue and the implementation issue. But before I go to my questions, let me ask, based on the statements made by Secretary Garcia, and I address these questions to Secretary Garcia and to Secretary Gasmin. Yes or no lang ho, ano? And if the answer is yes, then can you furnish the committee, please, a copy of what you have? Are we conducting a performance audit of all our multilateral and bilateral arrangements with foreign countries to find out kung itong mga arrangement, Mutual Defense Treaty, Visiting Forces Agreement, benefit our country and the other parties? Secretary Garcia.
Thank you. We do not have a formal review as such, but naturally the relationship is reviewed every time we meet. And we can share information on that with you, sir.
Secretary Garcia, this is an ongoing review.
Yes, sir. It goes on. You know, as we have a discussion with a foreign partner, we see where we want to improve,
Yes.
and we can move forward.
And of course, it's based on a very clear definition of what constitutes our national interest.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
our positions are prepared interagency-wise. We put together all the different concerns.
That is
So-
on the foreign policy side.
Yes, sir.
On the security side, by the way, foreign policy and security policy is a very porous policy environment, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Hindi mo pwedeng ihiwalay. Let me go to Secretary Gasmin. Pareho ho ba?
We have a regular assessment conducted by our office, the Strategic Assessment Office, Your Honor.
So may material po tayo which you can furnish the committee with.
Yes, Your Honor.
Opo. Now let me go to page 12 of the briefing of General Katapang. Levels of planning coordination. Madam Chair, I refer to this because the policy issue before us is how the chain of command operated and responded to the situation. Because of its exercise of our oversight function and in aid of legislation, is it a problem with the law, with the implementation, or some other factors? Nakalagay dito, I addressed this to General Espina and General Katapang alternately. These levels of planning coordination define the chain of command as we know it. Nakalagay dito, President, Commander-in-Chief, and then Chief of Staff on the AFP side, OIC PNP on the PNP side, and then Western Mindanao Command, and then Director for Integrated Police Operations, and then on the AFP side, 6th ID, on the PNP side, Police Regional Office. General Espina, is this a matter of fact, or is this a matter of practice, a matter of habit? What is this? We accept this as a description of the chain of command as you, as OIC PNP, know it.
Yes, sir. It is a fact, sir.
General Katapa.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. So pag merong wala dito at pumasok dun sa loop, hindi yan authorized, correct?
Yes, sir.
Pag may nag-text sa'yo, Dindo, at wala sa loop, pag may nag-text sa'yo, sabi kasi ng mga anak ko, Papa, pag hindi mo kilala, nag-text sa'yo, ang sagot mo dyan who this, please? Ganun ba yan?
Kung sir hindi kasama, hindi ko kasama.
Okay. Ibig sabihin, pag pwede kang magdagdag by authority of a higher level of command, pero hindi ka pwedeng magbawas. Is that a fair statement?
May I ask for clarification, sir?
Ibig sabihin, pag sinabi ng Pangulo, isama sa loop, si ganito. Siyempre, you ask, on the basis of need to know, bakit po?
Yes, sir. I'll ask that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I just want clear, categorical answers. No? General Katapang, is this valid?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes.
Ito rin ang basis ng distribution ng intelligence packet on a need-to-know basis. Dahil the involvement of certain levels of command will result in a comprehensive, well-crafted plan that will cover everything from the strategic, to the operational, to the tactical. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes.
It is also the basis for coordination.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, lahat ito nanggagaling, Madam Chair, dun sa intelligence packet, sa impormasyon na sineshare para ang resulta, magandang plano.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes.
At ito ay, pag hindi ito nangyari, according to what you recognize as the chain of command, you have the moral obligation and the duty to ask. Why? And you know why? General Espina and General Katapang, because lives are at stake. Lives of soldiers, policemen, civilians are at stake. Kaya kailangan maingat, precise, at maganda yung plano. Is this a fair statement?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me go to the basic, Mangsamoro basic law and the peace process. May I ask Professor Ferrer, if outside the BBL and our peace initiatives, we are driven by a comprehensive long-term national peace policy that incorporates core values that cannot be touched, especially if it involves upholding the Constitution. Ito ho ba ang mindset natin na the BBL is just one step, but bearing in mind that we are not only dealing with one revolutionary or rebel group, meron tayong comprehensive, written or otherwise, national peace policy that drives us.
Yes, Your Honor, starting from the Constitution, which says that the state disavows war as an instrument of policy, of national policy. And
Yes, ma'am.
yes, Your Honor, starting from the constitutional provision, and I don't have the exact words, but it says there that the state disavows war as an instrument of national policy. And then in the medium-term development plan of government, of this administration, peace and security are a major pillar, Your Honor.
Ma'am, Secretary Deles, is this written?
Yes.
Is this?
Yes.
Where is it?
In the medium-term development plan, Your Honor.
What about in the BBL? Is this part of the?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. It says it is within the Constitution. It says why this is being pursued. It gives all of the statements that ensures that the Bangsamoro shall be within the integrity of the territorial integrity and of the state, and that under the general supervision of the President, Your Honor, plus all of the socio-economic goals under our Constitution, which says that there shall be justice and that there shall be the needs of the poor should be attended to.
So, ma'am, nakasulat ho rito na ang permanente nating kalaban, hindi yung isa't isa, kundi yung poverty, social injustice, hunger, homelessness, ignorance, too much partisan politics. These things.
Well, not in exactly those words, Your Honor, but yes, Your Honor, it is there, and it is in the medium-term development plan that the peace policy of government is part of the 4 pillars of good governance to achieve prosperity and security for the entire nation.
And it is clear to all parties, including the MILF,
Oh yes, Your Honor.
and prospectively to the other groups that we are talking peace with, na if it infringes on these core values, wala tayong pag-uusapan.
Yes, Your Honor, that is always very clear when our panel sits across any party.
At sinasabi din doon, I hope categorically when it goes through fine-tuning, na they will renounce secession as an objective.
Ang sinasabi ho doon, and categorically, that it is going to be an autonomous region.
An autonomous region?
Yes, yes, Your Honor, which is, as mandated by the Constitution, part of the Philippine state.
Opo. Ngayon, let me, Madam Chair, let me go to this is administrative, a reminder about what we requested Secretary Rojas and Secretary Gasmin to just a gentle reminder, Secretary Mar and Secretary Bolts. No? Yun hong what programs have we institutionalized that would cover the widows and orphans beyond this eye-opening issue of our 44 heroes? Beyond this, because as we speak, people continue to die. People continue to be injured. Property continue to be destroyed. So we want to go beyond that. And while we're at it, itatanong din ho namin kina Professor Ferrer and Secretary Deles what we have done about the widows and orphans of the civilians that were killed or Ma'am, do we have a program for that? Parang hindi ko humaano, baka rebel returnee program or civilian rehabilitation.
Your Honor, with regard the immediate assistance to the civilians, it is the government of the autonomous region that has taken that on right from the start, Your Honor.
Thank you. Last 2 points. My time is supposed to be up. Chairman Iqbal, do you have such a program in the pipeline for rebels who have been killed or affected?
Yes, Your Honor. It's in the annex for normalization.
Pakisumitin lang. Last point, Madam Chair, with your continued alliance. Gentlemen, especially the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces, the recurring word we hear is, hindi kami sinabihan, which is very different from hindi ninyo alam o nalaman. Because the commander has to be informed. It is impossible for personnel and logistics to move under your command without your knowledge. So we have to make this very clear para when the terminal report is in, we can factor this into the findings of the committee so that we can respond to this proactively through policy interventions. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.